In this example, we're going to determine a rate law for a reaction 3A plus 2B yield 2C plus 2D gases from initial rates, or in other words, experimental evidence about how quickly a reaction occurs. Notice that for the sake of writing a rate law, the coefficients of a balanced chemical reaction do not necessarily have any bearing over the order with respect to reactants. Therefore, we write down a rate law as follows. A rate for this reaction is equal to some rate constant K multiplied by each of the concentrations of reactants in turn raised to a potentially unique exponential power. Our job is deciphering the experimental data given in the table here to determine the values for our exponents m and n in this rate law. To use these initial rate data, we need to think about ignoring one of our reactants while seeing how another changes. In other words, we need to look for cases where one reactant's concentration is unchanging or fixed, where at the same time another reactant is changing. I'm going to take a couple of examples. For instance, if I look at trials 1 and 2, I'll notice that the concentration of B is fixed, it's unchanging, whereas the concentration of A has changed. In evaluating these two trials, any change in initial rate must be due to changes in the concentration of A, because our initial concentration of B is unchanged from trial 1 to trial 2. So, let's think about trials 1 and 2. They give information about the dependence of the reaction's rate on the concentration of A. Effectively, what we say is that doubling the concentration of A results in our reaction's initial rate changing from 1.5 to 6.0 times 10 to the minus 2. What's happened here? Well, 6.0 divided by 1.5 is a factor of 4. Going from trial 2 to trial 1's data, we see that doubling our concentration of A resulted in a 4-fold increase in our initial rate. We know that since the concentration of B is being held constant, I'll block it out in our rate law, and since our rate constant K is by definition constant, I'll block that out in our rate law. The only thing affecting changing rates must be changing concentrations sensitive to some exponential power. In other words, we can write an expression that says that the rate associated with trials 1 and 2 must be affected only by the concentration of A raised to this m power. We know the change in concentration and the change in rate from trial 1 to trial 2. The change in rate is a factor of 4. The change in concentration is a factor of 2, and that's raised to some power m. In order to solve this equation for m, we need to do one of two things: solve it algebraically with logarithms, or just ask ourselves, to which power would we raise 2 to get 4? Well, we raised 2 to the second power to get 4. That must mean that the exponent m has a value of 2. Well, what would happen if we looked at two different trials? If instead we had investigated trials 3 and 4. Notice that in trials 3 and 4, we still have a fixed concentration initially for B, so we can ignore B's effect on any change in rate. From trial 3 to 4, we see that the change in concentration of A is a factor of 1.5, whereas the change in rate is a factor of 2.25. 2.7 divided by 1.2 is 2.25. How would we get the same information, and could we get the same information from this relationship? Let's reset our calculation. So we know once again that the change in rate can only be affected by the change in concentration of A. We know that change in rate is 2.25 factor. We know the change in concentration of A is a factor of 1.5, and that influences the rate by the sensitivity of that exponent m. Now it might not be quite as intuitive to identify what the value of that exponent is. So in this event, we can use the power of logarithms to help us solve for that exponent that's unknown. We can take the log of both sides, the log of 2.25 on the left-hand side and the log of 1.5 raised to the m power on the right-hand side. Remember, a rule of logarithms says that anytime we take a log of a number that's raised to an exponent, that's the exact same thing as multiplying that exponent by the log of the number itself. Our equation simplifies like this. To solve for m, we divide the log of 2.25 by the log of 1.5. And if we punch all that into our calculator, we still get precisely 2. No matter which set of data we look at, so long as the concentration of B is held constant, we can say that the exponent sensitivity for changing concentration of A must always be 2. So I've reset everything. We know by now that the exponent associated with concentration of A in our rate law is 2. Our rate will depend on the concentration of A squared. Next, we need to do something similar for the concentration of B. We need to identify trials in which the concentration of A remains constant so that we can investigate the effect of changing concentration of B. There are only 2 trials where A is constant, in trial 1 and in trial 3. That means that in trials 1 and 3, the effect of changing rate is influenced by changing concentration of B, sensitive to some power n. Let's investigate how B's concentration changed between trials 1 and 3, and how the overall rate of reaction changed from trials 1 and 3. Going from trial 1 to trial 3, we've doubled the concentration of B while keeping the concentration of A constant. The effect on the initial rate through this change is a factor of 2. Notice that we go from 6 times 10 to the minus 2 to 1.2 times 10 to the minus 1. That's the same as 12 times 10 to the minus 2. The factor change for the effect of rate is a factor of 2. So rate changes by a factor of 2 when the concentration of B changes by a factor of 2 raised to some power. For sensitivity, suggests that n is 1. 2 to what power gives us 2 back? 1. We can now rewrite our overall rate law like this. The rate of this reaction is equal to our rate constant K times the concentration of A squared times the concentration of B raised to the first power. Notice that those do not match the stoichiometric coefficients in our balanced reaction up above. So let's take one final step here, and that step is determining the value for the rate constant and its units so that we can complete our rate law. Because this is a rate law that describes the reaction whose experimental data are shown in the table, we should be able to use any one of the data points shown in the table, plug into our rate law, and solve for our rate constant K. We should just start with the first trial, and then I'll leave it up to you to solve similarly for all the rest. And because rate constants are constant, you should get the same answer every time. What we're going to do is take from trial number 1, we'll select the initial rate to plug in here. That's 6.00 times 10 to the minus 2 moles per liter per minute. We'll take the concentration of A to plug in here. That's 0.200 moles per liter. We'll square it, then multiply by the concentration of B, which is here, 0.100 moles per liter in this trial. We'll raise that to the first power. And we'll solve this for K. So this left-hand side will remain constant for a while we simplify the right-hand side. We'll have our rate constant K times 0.2 squared. Gives us 0.0400. With units that are now moles squared per liter squared, because we do to units what we do to numbers, multiplied by 0.100 moles per liter. 0.1 raised to the first power. Simplify down even further, and we can multiply these two quantities together. We end up with 0.00400. Moles times moles squared is moles cubed. Liters times liters squared is liters cubed. That's all equal to, on this left-hand side, 6.00 times 10 to the minus 2 moles per liter per minute. We'll divide both sides. By 0.00400 moles cubed per liter cubed, and ultimately what we come up with is, to 3 significant figures, 15.0. How do the units work out? Well, we have units of moles up in the numerator of the numerator. They can cancel out with one iteration of moles in the numerator of the denominator. We have liters in the denominator and the numerator. Liters in the denominator and the denominator. One iteration can cancel out. We'll be left with, in the numerator, by the time all this flips around, liters squared. And in the denominator, minutes and moles squared. This is our rate constant, 15.0 liters squared per minute per mole squared. Our final rate law, therefore, can be written as such. The rate of this reaction is always equal to 15.0 liters squared per mole squared per minute multiplied by the concentration of reactant A squared multiplied by the concentration of reactant B. There's our complete rate law.